For those of you that weren't able to attend the first face-to-face session for the Waco ISD Succeed New Teacher Mentoring Program, this is going to be the makeup, and we'll just cover some of the most important details. So let's get started.
So I remember years ago, I'd finished college, I had gone through all of my practicums, I'd gone through all of my student teaching. I get my first job, I get my classroom set up just right, and I cannot wait to meet the kids. And then on that first day of school, when the bell rings and I can hear the swarm of kids coming down the hallway to my classroom, I panicked and I thought, what the hell did I get myself into? Here's some things that I think you could use to survive your first year of teaching. Number one thing that all teachers want to know about as soon as they start teaching is classroom management. Having that onslaught of kids coming into your room for the first time, first of all, you'll be amazed that when you ask them to sit down, they will sit down. When you tell them to move their seat or to take out a pencil or a pen, most of them will do exactly that. Some of them you have to remind them 17 times, but that's just because they don't pay attention to anything. You'll be amazed at, from the onslaught, how much stuff you'll be able to say to the kids, and they'll just do whatever you ask. First step in classroom management is be prepared. Do your lesson plans. Come to class prepared. Come to school early. Get stuff ready ahead of time instead of waiting until the last minute. I know this seems really basic, but there's nothing worse than coming into school and something goes wrong and you're not prepared and you don't know what to do next. Be consistent. If something is a rule, it stays a rule. There's no cell phones in my class. That means there are no cell phones in my class. Don't ever write in red pen on a test. That means don't ever write, guess what, in red pen on a test. And if kids don't do it, you have to stick to it. Hey, that rhymed. Bars. The thing I harp on the most, and I tell new teachers, is that relationships are king. Having good relationships with kids is everything. You can't teach someone if you don't have a good relationship with them. If someone hates you, or if they're afraid of you, or if they think you're a pushover, or if they think that you're too nice, or if they think they can get away with stuff, or if they think they're terrified to do anything, you're lost. You can't teach anything. I don't care how amazing your lesson plan is or how hard you worked on it or any of that. If you don't have a good relationship, it just doesn't work. What that could look like is, there's this idea that if you're too close with students, then you become their friends, or you become like that weird teacher that knows too much about the kids. I'm not talking about friendships. Relationships do not equal friendships. They're completely different. So I think of my role as the role of like a professor that you had in college, or that really kind of weird yet handsome uncle that you had when you were younger. And that was weird. But ways that you can form relationships with kids are just talk to your students every day. Ask them questions about their whole life. Who do you live with? Where do you live? What was it like growing up? What's your favorite video game? What's your favorite cereal? Asking your kids all of those poignant questions will help them to realize that you actually care. You're actually loving them by asking them questions and being concerned about their lives. And another way to build relationships is to share who you are. Talk about yourself. If you want kids to be vulnerable and tell you what's going on and what a problem that they're having in their lives, make sure that you're willing to do the same thing. Sharing who you are will help kids to share more of who they are. And then that really builds a relationship like nothing else will. Want to build relationships with kids? Be at your door every single day. Every single day, no matter what, I'm at my door shaking hands of kids that come in. And that does a couple of things. One, it shows that I'm respecting you. As soon as you walk in my classroom, I shake your hand. Two, it allows all the kids you'll see in your second, third, fourth, 10th year of teaching that are walking through the hallway, they get a chance to see you again. And so you get the benefit from that. When the freshmen are walking into my room now and my seniors that I had 3 years ago are walking down the hallway saying what's up or shaking my hand or asking me about stuff, that really leaves an impression on the freshmen. And so I love that. I'm all over any chance to make myself at least appear better in the eyes of my students. And lastly, in the world of classroom management, don't be afraid. They're just kids. Even that dude that's 6'8" and who's built like a horse and is sitting in the back of the room and just looks at you with that hate stare, he's just a kid. That kid loves somebody and is afraid of something. All the kids want to do is be loved and to be appreciated and have your approval. Whether they show you that or not, that's all they want. So do your best to do that, to try and bridge that gap by just not being afraid of them. And if that means that something bad happens in class, you have to put your foot down, then don't be afraid to do it. They'll appreciate it. They appreciate the consistency and they appreciate the attention and the concern for their well-being. And so at the same time that I'm saying that, I just want to remind you that fair is not always equal, that each penalty shouldn't be exactly the same thing for every kid. You can have rules and you can have consistency in your class, but you can also have grace for kids.
So that video has always been a good intro that we like to use for our new teachers as they're entering the classroom. And it's a YouTube feed called Real Rap with Reynolds, and teaches in inner city Philadelphia. And that video actually runs about 13 minutes in length, and you'll have access to it. And it really goes into talking about content and curriculum more. But again, we always tend to start the conversation with classroom management. So today what we'll be covering is our welcome. We're going to talk about the Waco ISD Succeed Google Classroom, and this is where you're going to be navigating almost the entire mentoring program. So we'll make sure you understand the basics of that classroom platform. Make sure you have all of your access to notifications so you know when the activities are coming up, etc. We're going to talk a little bit about Eduphoria and T-Test and just give you kind of a rundown, as I know y'all started in that process. And then we'll talk about the upcoming activities in Waco ISD Succeed, as well as a few of those upcoming due dates in the T-Test platform. So again, in that video, in that opening, it's always good to stop and just take a moment to reflect of what's going well in your classroom right now. And then always, every once in a while at the end of the week or at some point today, to just stop and reflect and think of something that it is that you want to focus on over the course of the week. What teachers sometimes tend to do, especially in our first year, is we tend to overwhelm ourselves with feeling like too many things are going wrong. And we try to correct everything at one time. And what you really need to do is focus your energy on one specific skill, one specific focus that you can make measurable progress on over the course of a week. When you look at the entire issue, sometimes it can become overwhelming. So always take time to reflect on and celebrating the things that are going well, and really begin to, again, focus your practice and your energy on improving small incremental steps in things that are going in your classroom so you can see those successes as you continue to move forward. So everybody at this point should be a member of the Succeed Google Classroom for the new teachers. If you have not received an invite for some reason, please contact me by email or speak with your campus mentor coordinator. So what I'm going to do here in just a second is I'm going to exit out of this slideshow and I'm going to go into the Google Classroom. But things you should know: all assignments will be submitted through the Google Classroom platform. So everything submitted for this program is in a Google form format, and it's submitted through the Google Classroom platform. The invite you should have received comes from an automated email, so it looks a little different when you receive the emails since they're coming through Google Classroom. Once you get used to seeing what those subject lines look like, you might have deleted one and not knowing what it was. So again, not a big deal. Just give me a call or talk to your mentor coordinator and we'll get you a new email invite out. So what I want to do is go into the classroom platform, and what you'll see when you first join the classroom is what's called the stream. If you're not using this tool in your class, do know that this is also just a great way to work with your students in the class. Every student in Waco ISD has a Google account, and you have the ability to run Classroom with them. If you have questions about that, Paul Mock in Instructional Technology is your point of contact, and he can get you set up and started in Google Classroom. And of course, we're all always happy to come out and help you set things up. So this is also not only a great tool for me, but also a great tool that you could utilize in your own classroom. So when you first enter the class, you'll see you're in the main stream. In the stream, you see all of the posts that are occurring for the classroom. So this stream goes all the way back to the beginning. You can see down here these ones with the icon with the pad next to them are the classroom assignments. You can see here the welcome message. I'll always like to post some motivational videos and those type of pieces. We also have opportunities to ask any questions. You can add your comments within the stream, and we'll get back to you on that. You can see here, if you want to look at the entire year at a glance for the program, the Google Doc here gives you the entire layout of all of the dates. You can see up top are the mentor dates, and down here at the bottom we have all the new teacher assignments. We have the discussion board, we have the new teacher observation, and then we have our meeting dates. One thing we did have is a slight change in some of our meeting dates, and we'll talk about that in just a little while in the presentation. But we have our face-to-face all set up here, and you'll see January is actually an online webinar. So really we just have the 4 face-to-face, and then the January is an online webinar, and all of these meetings, just like this, will have a makeup session. So that's the main stream where you're going to get most of your notifications. You can see if you want in your settings tab, as a student, you can turn on notifications or turn off notifications. We highly recommend that you have the notifications turned on so that every time something is posted in Classroom, you get that access. You'll also see the upcoming work assignments will come up here on the left-hand side as they get closer to their due date. If you want to see all of the assignments in one spot, if you click on classwork, you can see here are the assignments with the posted due dates just below. You can see that our assignment 1 and 2 are coming up here next Friday. I'll go over these assignments here in just a little bit, and what we want you to do is just not worry. We don't want the Waco ISD Succeed program to be overwhelming to anyone. These assignments are meant to drive conversations. They're meant to be done in collaboration with your mentor. But again, it's more about the conversation that takes place and the guidance that you receive from your mentor than it is the actual submission of the assignment. But we'll talk about those pieces. Here again are all of the other meeting dates as well. So that's your classwork. And then if you want to go in and see who all is actually in the class, you have that in your People tab. So that is the Google Classroom. Know that when you want to submit an assignment, you can find the assignments here, or you can go in on classwork. So if you're wanting to do assignment 1, you simply click on the assignment, you click on the form itself, complete and submit, and you should now see assignment 1 completed. So that's all it takes to submit an assignment again through Google Classroom. They've really simplified and streamlined that process with their updates this year. So it really is a cool feature, again, not just for us with the mentoring program, but also something that you can think about using with your students in the class. You can see here it keeps track of all my students that have turned in assignments, and I can get a feed of that as the teacher. Again, I can see by student who has and who has not submitted, and you could go in and do your grading here. So again, just a really, really cool feature. And there were the instructions that I gave out for that and the student work. So if you have any questions on Google Classroom, or if you ever get stuck, please do not let the platform be a hindrance to you. Contact me. We'll get out there and we'll help you navigate through the platform and do anything you need to do. We never want you to get frustrated by the technology or the platform or the assignments. These are meant to be a guide and an assistance, not a hindrance. So one big piece that has also come up, of course, at the start of the year, many of you have already entered your student growth goals in Eduphoria Strive for the student learning objectives. So I just want to kind of go over in brief again for everyone, making sure you understand the platform in Eduphoria, talk a little bit about the upcoming SLO portion for the initial skill profile that's due on September 28th. Then there's that targeted skill profile that's due on November 16th. And I just want to kind of run over the entire platform so you know what you're expecting to see over the course of the year during the T-test evaluation cycle. So if I go to Eduphoria, I'm actually going to log out of my personal account. I don't have view to the teacher view from that. So I've created a teacher account for myself. So as I log in as a teacher, what you see when you go into your Strive application is this right here. Now this is your entire T-test evaluation process for the year, and you can see it breaks it down by subsections, and I'm going to talk briefly through these. So the first subsection you've been working in is this goal setting component. So at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, actually, you'll begin resetting goals for next year. You're adding personal or professional goals as well as this year the new addition of the student growth goal. So you can see here, if you want to build goals, there's a couple ways you can do that. If you've built your goals, you can do this through the addition icon and create your goal here. Or you can also access the Goals tab, which is actually a really cool overview of your goals. It shows you the timeline that you set out, and you can add additional goals here as well. So you can see again, here are my professional goals, and here is that student growth goal that aligns with the student learning objective. So to add another professional goal here, I would just hit the plus icon, and again, your professional goals are aligned to the T-test rubric, so they're covering more things like classroom environment or your planning or instruction in the classroom, and again, tying to specific dimensions out of the T-test rubric. These goals you set with your appraiser. They can be adjusted over the course of the year if you and your appraiser decide that that does need to take place, and you can make those adjustments right here in the same goal on the Strive platform. So again, if you had adjustments to make, you can click on a current goal and you can make adjustments here as needed. You can also go in and add evidence as you're working towards completing the goal. So if you want to have that evidence all compiled in Eduphoria, you can add that here. That could be simple text evidence, or you could upload files or links to other things that have been completed. If you've completed professional development towards your goals, that's automatically going to pull through the system as long as that professional development is loaded in Strive. So again, it pulls a lot of information and evidence for you already, but it's a great way that at the end of the year you can have a good conversation about your goals and begin looking forward to setting your goals for the upcoming school year. You can also see here there's this goal setting and professional development document. When you created this, or if you have not, if you hit create evaluation, all this is talking about how you came about identifying the needs and how you identified what the goal was going to be. So most of this again was just through that planning process with your appraiser. You can enter that comment information here, and you'll see at the end of the year when you come back and reflect on the goal, you'll actually go back into this same document and just do your goal reflection prior to your summative evaluation. So more pressing is also just this student learning objective piece. This is the component that's new to all teachers this year, not just you as a new teacher. So the student learning objectives, the first thing y'all had submitted was the student growth goal. The student growth goal, again, you worked as a grade level team or a content area team to define a focus skill that you would be working on targeting growth over the course of the year. It should have been a very concise skill. It shouldn't be a large topic. If you're looking at reading instruction, you shouldn't be looking at all of reading comprehension. You should be focusing in on a very specific skill. And so as a grade level team, you would be determining how you're going to go about identifying that skill and what you expect to happen by the end of the year to determine success on reaching that goal. So when you built your student growth goal, you had your focus skill, you had your criteria for success, you attached your standards that may be aligned or components of a standard aligned to your focus skill, and then maybe you added your action steps, so incremental points in the year that you would be checking for progress towards the growth that you identified. So once you had that and you submitted, you should see it here. A submitted goal comes up in orange, an approved goal comes up in blue, and then when you archive a goal later on at the end of a year, you'll see those go into green. What's really cool is the archive goals are always available. You can always go back and view those, or even pull them in for continuation into the following school year if the goal still aligns. You can see here on the evaluations tab, these are the only two components that have the addition signs where you actually add the forms yourself. So the student learning objective form, once you've defined or built your student growth goal, you'll see the student learning objective form was the exact same form from TEA that had those 4 steps. What is the focus? And here's your growth goal. What is the initial skill profile? What is the targeted skill profile? And how will I guide the students to growth? So if you remember in your manual from the August 15th training, there was the student learning objective form from TEA. This is the exact same form, word for word, just laid out slightly differently because of the way the forms are generated in Eduphoria. But again, that information you worked on with your teams goes right in here, and step 1 was actually used to produce your student growth goal. The ISP is that next piece that's coming up, the initial student skill profile. And really, this is one of those activities where working with veteran teachers is going to be of great assistance, because what they'll be doing, or what you'll be doing, is identifying what the average student, based on this focus skill that you've identified, typically comes to your classroom with. And it's difficult without previous experience with your students to know what the average student comes with. You can look at vertical alignment documents in your core content to determine what they should come with based on the standards. But a lot of times, veteran teachers will know a little more closely what actual skills they come with when they enter the classroom at your specific grade level or in your specific content. So that typical or average student is what goes on your rubric as the typical student. That description can then be altered to show the above and well above typical. So you may have a increase in accuracy if it comes to fluency in reading. You may have an increase in the ability to identify high frequency words or mathematical concepts or numerical fluency, whatever it may be. You can adjust for accuracy, adjust for numbers, and you can define that rubric in the above and well above typical. And then you'll do the same thing, making those slight adjustments to define a below and well below typical. Because what happens with this initial skill profile is once you've generated this is the component that's due on September the 28th. You'll generate that information here, and you'll actually go ahead and kind of level your students based on your observations, or if you had some type of formal assessment or informal assessment that you worked with the class. You have student work examples, whatever it may be, whatever evidence you'll utilize to place those students in that initial student skill profile. So you'll see, describe the typical student and how many students in your class are at that typical level. So once you've defined that, that information goes here, and that's all that's due on September the 28th. The next piece that would come up will be that targeted skill profile, and that's not due until November. And again, you should be sitting down as your grade level or content area teams to work through these processes together, along with the help of your instructional specialist or your appraiser as you're going through this process. So if you have any questions ever regarding your Eduphoria platform or your T-test evaluation cycle, hopefully you've built a strong relationship already with your appraiser, and you can have those conversations. Your instructional specialists are great resources on the campus. Your content specialists, your instructional coaches at the district level. Find somebody to ask, talk to your grade level team. If you need any additional assistance or help finding assistance, please don't hesitate to contact the Office of Professional Development. The key is just contact somebody. There's also a video that was created, and there's some resources on the Professional Development website on how to go through and actually enter those. And so those are available to you as, again, resources on how to complete those documents in Eduphoria. We don't want anybody caught up in the submission of the document. Again, the goal is really the conversation that you're having with your team, and the goal is student growth, but it's more importantly teacher growth and instructional practice, becoming more proficient in your skills, more confident in the classroom. So what's coming up? The next meeting, face-to-face, it's going to be a lot of fun. Dr. Nelson, Human Resources are going to be involved. We're going to have an ice cream social, so we'll be sending out more flyers about this. Those meeting dates have altered slightly. So you'll see here on November the 1st, we'll have the secondary meeting, which we held at the University High School dining facility, 4:30 to 5:30. You'll see on November 5th, we'll have the elementary meeting in the Lake Air cafeteria from 4 to 5. So this is for the new teachers. And again, we're going to have a really good turnout of district support, and so we want you to be there, enjoy in the activities. It's all about being grateful. It's about remembering why you joined. It's about remembering your colleagues around you and being grateful. And you're going to have the opportunity to provide some trinkets of appreciation and some tokens. So we'll leave you with some activities where you get the opportunity to build and take some things with you that you can disperse to your colleagues to show them again that you're grateful and appreciate everything they've done for you as you're moving through your first year. Upcoming assignments, we had that student growth goal was already submitted September 14th. The new teacher assignment 1 and 2 are due on September 28th. I'm going to show you those in just a second one more time. Again, the focus being not the depth and complexity of your answers on that, but really the conversation that you're having with your mentor. So those forms themselves, I'll show you, can be very brief. Mentor observation 1, October 12th. Mentor observation 2, November 16th. So the mentors will be coming in the room and just doing some short informal observations, all in Google. None of that goes into Eduphoria. And again, that's just really focusing on some of the positive things that are happening in the class. So we'll give you more information on that on Google Classroom, and those dates get a little bit closer, and we'll go from there. So assignment 1 and 2. Assignment 1, again, is just a very informal getting to know you. So just move through this quickly. First thing that comes to mind, some basic information. Just really want to know, your path to your teaching career if you went through a 4-year preparation program or alt cert, etc. And then the rest of the questions are kind of fun. So that assignment 1, real quick, you can do that on your own. But assignment 2 is all about your classroom management plan, and it's a great opportunity to reflect, kind of coming towards the end of this first 6-week period, on how your procedures and processes are working. So this is more about the conversation. Sit down with your mentor, talk about what the plan was that's in place, any changes that you think you've had to make. You can see here it kind of guides, and it has the ability that you can attach your classroom management plan. You can just add that file here. And it kind of gave guidance on just some of the procedures. So if you have some brief conversations about some of these, or if you're making changes to some of these procedures, or if these are some of the things that you feel maybe you need, or that you're doing well, these answers can be very brief. You don't have to go into great depth and detail here on this form. Again, the entire point of this is to have that conversation with your mentor. Talk about what's going well. Talk about procedures you may need to go back and refocus on, reteach. Are your classroom rules aligning like you hope they would, or do they need to change? There's always the opportunity to change and make the adjustments necessary as we approach the holiday season to make sure all of those procedures are in place and your classroom is running it like you want it to. So again, focus on the conversation. Don't be overwhelmed and feel like you have to put great detail on every line, and get that submitted. Those are both due on the 28th, if you can get those in. But again, we truly appreciate the work you're doing with the students of Waco ISD. Remember, everyone remembers their first year of teaching. Never be afraid to go out and ask for help. Never be afraid to go out and ask questions. Find someone, find a group to talk with on a regular basis. If you have a large group of new teachers, meet with them. Find a veteran teacher. If it's not your mentor, if you're finding somebody else is easier to meet with, that's okay. But find those teachers that can guide you, answer your questions, because again, everybody remembers what the first year was like, and everybody can provide you with little tips and tricks to how to avoid some of the things that we all did in our first years as well. Don't forget to sign in. This way you can receive credit for this makeup session. So if you go to this bit.ly, it's going to bring up a Google form where you can then go in and simply enter your employee ID, and you'll be signed in and receive credit for the session.